great pleasure in introducing Steve round.
We had some really competitive games, didn't we?
We did. We had some good nights out though.
Is it a bad time for Arsenal to play Manchester United, or is it never a bad time for Arsenal to play anyone?
Edu was a brilliant recruiter, brilliant. He could convince those players to come and join our club. And Sam went, I like that. You're right. We'll go with that idea. Let's just hope it works.
For your sake.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of No Tippy Tappy Football. Hey, Sam.
Hello, Natalie. Good to see you.
Lovely to see you. The first time I've seen you since we got this lovely bronze award.
Yeah. I thought we were all delighted when the news came through. Obviously, you were down there, so you saw it happen actually at that particular time. Wish I could have been there, but unfortunately couldn't make it. But we're so pleased about the award, and like I thank everybody who subscribes, everybody who follows us, everybody who watches. Without them, we wouldn't have got this award, like you mean. And of course, everybody here who's behind the scene and behind the cameras, as well as me and you and all the guests that we've had. It's a big thank you, and hopefully we can continue to grow and progress and get stronger and stronger. And of course, everybody out there subscribing, following. Love it. Well, let's keep doing it. We can say what we want to say. We can discuss what we want to discuss. And that's what I love about the podcast.
Me too. Thank you so much. Yeah, we picked up bronze at the Football Content Awards. We were beaten only by two of the biggest podcasts in the whole country whose budget is 100 million times more than ours.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we also beat a lot of podcasts as well. Sorry, Gary Neville. Gary Neville, no, sorry. Sorry, Gary Lineker. No, Gary Neville beat us. Sorry, Gary Lineker. And Simon Jordan, we beat him as well.
Yeah, that's good.
So we were chuffed as hell. And then Sam brought in a box of champagne, a bottle of champagne for everybody that works on the show to say thank you, which was lovely, Sam. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Very, very kind. Now, would you like to introduce our guest?
Yes, it's been a long time since I've seen him, so I'm really glad we're catching up today, like you mean, because for me, I've known him a long time. We actually worked together. Not long enough, short period at Newcastle together when I took over 2007-8, and really wanted to build something for Newcastle, but unfortunately, due to a change of ownership, we didn't last as anywhere near as long as we would have loved to. So it's my great pleasure in introducing Steve round. And Steve, thank you very much for coming. And much probably outside the football world, much underrated, by the way, absolutely unbelievable in many different fields, which we'll talk about today.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you very much for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me. Really appreciate it. And it's great to see Sam again. I haven't seen him for a while, so it was really good to catch up.
Well, we always like to start there in terms of where the guest and Sam's paths have crossed. So I'd love to hear it from your side.
Well, we crossed really against each other, didn't we?
Oh, many times, yeah.
When Sam was probably at Bolton and I was at Middlesbrough, and we had two cracking teams at the time. You know, probably similar to we were saying Brighton and
Fulham.
Fulham at the minute. You know, we're really challenging the upper echelons of the Premier League, and we had some terrific players between us all.
There was still jammy in the cup final. Mike Riley missed a penalty in the last minute to take us into extra. I'm not sure we'd have won it, but like, you know.
And we had a double hit on our penalty.
A double hit got ignored. Well, anyway.
You're not over that, Sam?
I've never been over that, no. Anyway, but yeah, that was great. I mean, it's great that two teams like Middlesbrough and Bolton at that particular time got to a cup final, well deserved, like you mean. And we got into Europe. We were getting into Europe on a regular basis. So
look at some of the players we had.
Good eras, well. Good era. Yeah.
You know, they had Djorkaeff and Campo and Herrera and Okocha.
Speedo and all them like
we had Zenden at Middlesbrough. There was Zenden, Mendieta, Juninho, Gareth Southgate, Ugo Ekiog, Schwarzer, Boateng, Deriva. I mean, it was some really good players,
times,
good teams.
Yeah. That Middlesbrough team back then was insane.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we had some really competitive games, didn't we?
We did. We had some good nights out though. Well,
okay, that's what I like to hear about.
Well, Steve occasionally came over. I'm not sure you came with him, Steve. If we were playing Middlesbrough on Saturday, he'd actually drop in with the restaurant and have a couple of hours with us, and before the game and that, like you mean, and vice versa. So there was a lot of connections then that are long lost now.
Yeah.
With managers, a lot of interaction that we had, and if whenever we were together, we was always discussing the game of football and the changes that football happen, which unfortunately doesn't happen today. The way the game has gone. One, not so sure we'd get them all together, particularly through the LMA, which we used to. And two, you know, the game is so frantic now. There's barely enough time for a drink after a game now.
No,
and that's one of the big disappointments in the change of the Premier League, particularly.
That was a really good tradition. I felt that, you know, no matter who you were playing against, you went for a drink in the opposition's manager's office afterwards. And it sort of kept your behaviour right on the touchline, because you knew you'd have to face each other afterwards, and there was a real respect there. And even, you know, even people like Sir Alex would invite you in. I mean, he'd always beat you 4-0, so you know, he was quite happy to host you and give you a glass of red wine. But it was a really good tradition. I think that's sort of moving away at the moment, and it's a sad occasion.
Why do you think that is?
I just think that, like Sam says, the intensity of it. There's a lot of different nationality of managers who maybe have come from cultures that don't do it.
It's all the press, media, and TV.
Yeah.
Because then you got a lot of players sitting on the coach waiting to get off, and of course, you know, the manager's office was always a great place to just go win, lose, or draw in the end, just to find out what was happening. Like, I mean, you could discuss a lot of things at the time. I mean, one of the best offices I've been in, and Steve for this manager in his very, very early days, was Jim Smith at Derby County.
Right.
You get into Jim's office, you couldn't get out. You know what I mean?
Just chatting.
Oh, chatting, having a drink, food. You know, his hospitality was second to none, wasn't it?
It was brilliant. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Brilliant.
He was, you know,
top guy.
One of the man managers of all time, I think. Like, I mean, so he was a great learning curve for me over the years, as well as many other older managers at that time.
So your paths crossed a lot, but then they came together at Newcastle. So were you already there, Steve, or did Sam bring you in? How did it work?
No, so I was working with the England national team at the time, and actually it was in the summer, and I'd gone on holiday with the family, and I had a call off Sam, and he said, "I'm going into Newcastle. Will you come as my assistant?" So I said straight away, I went, "Yes, I will," because I'd heard a lot about Sam. I knew him really well, and Newcastle's such a great club. And there was a few things I had to do with the England side to make sure I could do dual roles, but Sam was happy with that. So we carried on the holiday. Then I got a call about another week later, and he said, "You've signed your contract, haven't you?" And I went, "I have." He said, "Good, it might be the shortest reign you've ever had." I said, "I've not even kicked a ball yet, Sam." He said, "Oh, they've just sold the club to Mike Ashley. I'm going to see him now. We might be out of a job." I went, "We haven't even started." And he said, "Well, I know, but if he wants a new manager, he wants a new manager." So I said, "Oh, okay, then let me know." So probably about 5 or 6 hours later, I get a call from Sam, said, "No, we're okay. We're in. We're starting next week. We'll see you at the training ground."
What were you thinking in that 5 hours?
Wow, you know. It's this is football for you, though. You know,
it was the quickest takeover of a football club ever in the history of football. Like, Mike's one of these rare breeds of businessman that when he likes something, he buys it, and instead of doing the long journey of going through the books and looking at the books and doing the due diligence and all that, he just did it in 2 weeks apparently, and nobody had a clue. Nobody had an absolute any idea, particularly Freddie Shepherd, who's passed away now, God rest his soul, that at that particular time, because he always felt that if anybody was going to buy Newcastle outright, Sir John Hall was always going to give him the first chance. And unfortunately, that never happened. Sir John Hall sold the shares to Mike, and obviously Mike did it quick enough and offered him enough money to sell them shares. So it really did affect Freddie an awful lot, losing his beloved Newcastle United, of course. So, but that became a difficult situation for us who were just starting off. Like, I mean, not that I can criticise Mike particularly, because he's going into a new game and a new industry and a new business that he's never managed before, but it was of great difficulty in terms of what I expected Newcastle to be and what I expected the spending to be, which didn't materialise. So, like I said, right club, wrong time in the end. We managed to last till January, or I did, but it was a great shame that we couldn't go on to build more. But that's life in football. In the right place at the right time sometimes, and sometimes the right place at the wrong time, so which Steve, was exactly that.
What was Sam like? You'd known him on the touchline against each other. You'd known him as a friend, but what was he like when you started working under him?
Oh, terrific. Yeah, it really was. It was. I think as a coach, when you go into that situation, you need what responsibilities that you're going to have every day and day to day. And he said to me, listen, I want 20 minutes on a Thursday to do the team play, ready for the game, and set pieces of mine on a Friday. The rest of the week's yours. Just make sure you run everything by me the night before and get on with it. I brought you in to coach the team, get on and coach the team. And to have that autonomy and be able to go out there, and that responsibility from that delegation was great. You know, it gave you a sense of purpose and motivation. You were ready to try and, you know, die for your manager and your club. And you always knew that he got you back, whether that's with the players, the media, the fans, the owners, whoever it may be. You knew that he was there for you and he'd support you. You know, if he thought you were wrong, he'd tell you, and I would tell him as well if I thought he was wrong. We had that relationship.
Yeah.
I remember once the first time I'd only been there a week, and he got all the Bolton stuff there and all the Newcastle stuff there, and he said something, I don't agree with that. The whole room went, and Sam went, I like that. You're right. And I went, am I? He went, yes, we'll go with that idea. Let's just hope it works. And
for your sake.
Yeah. So yeah, it was great to work for, and an amazing club. And we started really well. You know, I think we were about fourth in the league after 10 games and playing well. Then we had a few injuries which just took the edge off it towards Christmas. Yeah, I always found Sam really open. You know, I'd heard rumours that, you know, he was very forward thinking and he was working on analysis and data and sports science, and that was really right up my street at that time, you know. And when I went in, to feel that openness that we're going to try and push the boundaries and do things differently was pretty cool, you know. And he said to me that I went to see you once, didn't I? And I said, you know, you've got this Bolton staff who are really pushing the boundaries, and you've got a Newcastle staff that understand the club and the history and embrace their traditions. I said, and you've got me. I've not worked with either, but you've got a bit of friction between the two. And he said, well, that's why I brought you in. Get on with it and sort it out. And I was like, what? He said, bring them together. And I went, oh, okay, fair enough. So it's just having that trust and respect to delegate that responsibility, and also then support you with the outcomes. I think that's critical.
Oh, I love that. We've heard people talk about Sam like that on before. I always find it fascinating. Your most recent job, you were at Arsenal. You left last year. I have read online, apparently, the reason that you left. But if you don't mind me asking, I'd love to know from you yourself directly why you left Arsenal.
Well, yeah, I read a piece about that, and that's completely untrue what was said. But there was no arguments or differences of opinion or anything like that. I think when I first went in with Mikel, I said to him, look, when the time's right, I think I'll need to move on when it suits us both, you know. And we had a discussion in that summer, and we said, look, I think it's time that I went, and we were both in that agreement with each other, and I think I needed to step away from it and have a break. I've been on the front line for nearly 30 years, and it was tough, you know. And
it's a big one to walk away from Arsenal, isn't it?
Gosh, yeah.
And I think he needed to refresh his staff as well and promote a couple of younger coaches, and I'd moved more into the sort of technical director sphere, which is what I'm looking at right now. And so I just felt it was the right time, you know. I was really proud of what we did there, really proud of what we achieved, to go in and help turn a club around that was starting to fail, and help rebuild and embrace the culture that was Arsenal and put it back on track. And, you know, I was a bit gutted we didn't win the league that year that I left, to be honest, because we were really close. Yeah, we had a couple of injuries right at the end, which really stopped us. And we were coming up against what is arguably the best team I've ever seen in the Premier League, and I've seen a lot since the early 90s. You know, it's that team that Pep had then at City was something else. So it would have been nice to have got that Premier League title for sure. But no, I left with really good, you know, opinion of everybody and everything. The club was great with me.
What were the lessons learned on that then, would you say? Because you had it in the bag, didn't you? Because you was you 5 points clear?
Yeah.
6 points, was it? There's only, 4 or 5 games to go?
Yeah. Well, I think...
Was that injuries? Was that...
Yeah.
And a bit of nerves and a lack of confidence, or...
I think a bit of all of the above there, Sam. Yeah, I think we had a bad injury to William Saliba, who was playing so well.
Top draw, yeah.
He had a back problem that put him out for about 10 games. We lost Zinchenko. Gabriel Jesus picked up an injury. And we had a tough run-in of games. And also, we had such a young team that was, for the first time, in a position where they may go and win the title. Mm. And I think even you look back now at Liverpool a few years ago when they won the title under Klopp, they came close before that, but couldn't quite get over the line. I think you have to learn season on season.
Yes.
You have to toughen up with your mentality.
Mentality, yeah.
And you have to understand what it takes to win in the final straight of the season. I thought Arsenal went a step further last season, were really close again, and just couldn't get over the line. And again, against a City team that was something else. It really was. Then I thought this season, they'd do it this season. I really felt that with the additions that they made, Declan Rice especially, coming in and really establishing himself the season before. And I just thought, you know, they'll do it.
They've overcome this not scoring enough scenario that everybody talked about, which was, you know, the usual BS as far as I'm concerned, like you mean, because Arsenal will win the league, as always, me repeating myself time after time,
for having the
best defensive record. And that will be apparent this year again, like you mean, because, you know, you see Arne Slot at Liverpool, and he's probably taken away a little bit of the high action, dynamic, attacking football that Liverpool played, no matter what, where or when. But he's taken a little bit of that away for the solidarity of the defence and what they're achieving now, like you mean. So I thought Arsenal would be there or thereabouts this year. And of course, as it's gone, City is slipping up like they've never slipped up. I know, I see you pulling your face there. and of course, instead of Arsenal taking full advantage of that, it's Liverpool who take. I mean, and that 8 points now.
9 to Arsenal, I think.
Yeah, 9 to Arsenal, and that can be caught. It can be caught because of the early stages, but the run will have to be like Man City's done a run and Arsenal done a run where they lose. What did Arsenal do last year after they went to Dubai, by the way?
Yeah.
You know, I found out the manager copied me for change, actually giving the team a break in Dubai. And then going, I think did they lose one game in 15?
Yeah, and City lost none or something like that. It was
City did the same.
Ridiculous form.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if anybody's going to catch Liverpool have to slip up, and somebody like City or Arsenal have to go that 15 games, and obviously the vast majority of those will need to be victories.
Yep.
But they've overcome the scoring side.
Yeah.
He's scoring now. He's scoring a lot of goals spread out all over which is brilliantly, you know, spread across the board. And I think that you know, it's exciting watching them the way they're playing at the minute.
You look at the team now. There's men all the way through the team. Physical, strong, aggressive, superb on set pieces. You know, they can score a wide range of goals, and I think they'll push right to the end this year. I think they'll be really close. I know there's a 9-point gap now, but that can easily whittle away. You look at the fixtures this week; things can change very quickly in this league. It's this will go right down to the wire this season, I'm sure. The surprise is Liverpool a little bit, because you weren't. how's the new manager going to do? He's taken over from a bit of an icon. Things are not maybe, but they've done so well. And I've been impressed with the way he's behaved and the class and respect he's shown on the touchline with his assistants, one of which I coached at Everton, Johnny Heitinger. So I've been very impressed with Liverpool. And then I said at the start of this season, actually, that this year the league might actually be decided by the team with the least amount of injuries to key players.
Yeah, I was going to say that then.
If you look at the programme that these guys have done in the last 2.5, 3 years from the World Cup in mid-season, it's unbelievable.
Yeah. And
if Arsenal were to lose a Saka and Odegaard recently, where the form dipped a bit, a Declan Rice, a William Saliba, City lost Rodri, if Liverpool lose Salah and Van Dijk, the whole thing can change really quickly. So,
I don't think City have lost as many players as they have at the moment.
Oh gosh,
because there's
no.
De Bruyne and
Ruben Diaz was back yesterday.
Ruben Diaz, Grealish has been injured. It's been more than usual, isn't it? But everybody's talked about the load.
I want to talk more about Liverpool and Arsenal,
Yeah.
but a couple of things on you first, Steve. So just to confirm, the rumour that I read was you left Arsenal because you didn't like them signing David Raya.
No, that's not. That's a load of rubbish, that is.
Okay, lovely. Not true.
Not true.
Not true. I also read that you were in contention for the Coventry job. Was that a rumour?
Rumour.
Because the one that I read said you were the hot favourite.
Yeah, I've not had any contract.
I've got to ask him this
Coventry
question.
or anything. So
I've got to ask him this question now. Do you want to be a manager? Because it's first on our podcast, Steve.
Yep. We've got a great record.
Do I want to be a manager?
Yeah. Do you want to be? So if Coventry came in for you, would you have taken it?
The Coventry one, I believe, was a sporting director. That's what I was told.
All right.
Not a manager.
Was that the
Frank?
rumour?
Yeah, that was.
Or is this after Frank?
No, it was before Frank was appointed, but
Right.
I don't know where that came from. So, and I've had no contract with Coventry.
You know who owns that ground, don't you?
Go on.
Mike Ashley.
Does he?
Yeah.
Maybe that's where he came from.
He bought the ground, Mike. Yeah.
Wow.
Bought the stadium, everything.
Okay.
Casino, hotel.
Okay.
Shrewd businessman, that man, by the way. Wow.
I mean, they've appointed Frank now. Good luck to him.
Yeah.
It's a good club, Coventry, that's for sure. Steeped in tradition and history, really good club.
So would you like to get back in then in a sporting director role?
I think that's the way I've moved. Yeah, I mean, it's a really interesting one because I get asked this a lot. Why have you not been a manager or gone into management? But I kind of had a plan to do that all along. So
Never had the opportunity, though, have you?
no, and other opportunities have come up which have been better.
Better, yeah.
So it's sort of
More important for you and the family, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really, when we talk about it, because
When
what
I
we're
was-
talking about is making our way in the football world, but also improving our lifestyle and particularly our families. We got a lot of responsibility that lies there. We're not all flush like everybody thinks we are. That we don't need another job. We do. So
Yeah, it was like-
you've got to choose where and when you go. I mean, the
That's right.
career he's had and the amount of talent he's been with and worked with, as well as himself, like him in England, as well. Jim Smith at Derby, Man United, I mean, it's just, unbelievable.
there's always been. So I was working with England, and I had a chance that summer to go for a couple of interviews at league clubs in the lower leagues. Then I get a call off Sam, come to Newcastle, massive club.
Yeah.
And then when Sam leaves the following season, I'm thinking, right, I actually went for an interview at a League One club. And then Moyes rings me up, says, come to Everton. And then you think, it's got to the stage where I loved coaching and I loved being with the players and working with that talent every day. And then I saw what it did to these guys being in management. And I thought, do I really want that? And I think you have to be, it's a completely different role, really. And I just loved and enjoyed working with the players every day. That was what really motivated me.
So you were with David Moyes at Everton, and then you were with David Moyes when you went to
Man U.
United.
Yeah.
As well. Did you go straight with him? You were there.
Not initially, no. When David went to Manchester United, he said, look, he came and told us after the last game of the season, he sat the staff down and said, look, I've been offered the job and I'm going to take it. And we were, congratulations, magnificent, fully deserved, best of luck. And he said, look, I'll be in touch with you all. I can't say anything or do anything yet. there's nothing official, please keep it quiet. And so he said, okay. So off he went. And then I actually went for a couple of interviews at clubs. I went to Club Bruges, actually, in Belgium for an interview for manager's job. And I think there was 3 candidates it was down to. And I don't know if I would have got the job or not, because about 2 weeks later, he rings me up, Dave, and says, you know, I'd like you to come on board as assistant coach. Will you come? And I said, yes, definitely, you know, to work at Manchester United. What an amazing opportunity. And yeah, we actually met in Florida to do the planning for pre-season. We met out there, we were all on holiday and met up, and then came back and started.
What was your impression of the squad that you inherited from Sir Alex Ferguson? Because there's been a lot of people. I feel like people still talk about it.
Well, I think it was a really good squad. They just won the league, and they'd won the league because Van Persie had an unbelievable season, standout season. I think he started every single game in the league and scored 33, 34 goals, something like that. And what a player he was. But there was a lot of the squad I'd already worked with. So I'd worked with Wayne Rooney and Rio and people like that previously with the England group. And it was a really, really good squad. I mean, Sir Alex said to us before we came in, I remember Dave telling us that, you know, he's going to have to rebuild this as time goes by, because there's a few players that are starting to age, and you're going to have to turn that around over the coming few transfer windows. And so we knew that there was a job to be done over time, but unfortunately, 1, we didn't win enough games, and 2, we didn't get enough time. That was the crux of it.
It's similar. It makes me think about, obviously, Arne Slot taking over at Liverpool, the kind of the Sir Alex Ferguson leaving, the Jurgen Klopp leaving, and we were mentioning Liverpool before. Obviously, the incredible start that they've had. After the Manchester City game, Jamie Carragher made a big statement, as he likes to, and he said that, obviously no bias in this, which, you know, coming from me is ironic. Virgil van Dijk is the best Premier League centre back of all time. What do you think?
I don't think the best of all time, no. Not all time, not what we've seen in the Premier League over the years and what the quality of the centre halves. I think we're in the top 6. I want to get it not to be number 1. And I think that what I like about him now, he seems to have fully recovered from the cruciate.
Yeah.
So after he got injured at Everton and he had a cruciate ligament operation, he came back and looked a yard short, and it looked like he couldn't quite read the game like as well as he used to cope with that little bit of lack of pace that he got. But he seems to have overcome that now, and that is a huge injury to overcome, by the way, a cruciate replacement. And he's back on top form, so he's right up there. There's no doubt. But I wouldn't call him out as the number 1 of, you know, of all time. It's a big shout, that one, like. But he's bound to say that because he's Liverpool, isn't he? You know what I mean? So
yeah.
But you know, it's
all-time Premier League.
All-time Premier League.
I mean, there's a saying that gets bandied about a lot, and I see it in the media about players being world class. You know, they're not world class, but he actually is. I think he could get in any team in the world. Is he the best of all time in the Premier League? I'm the same as Sam. He's up there. I've worked with people like John Terry and Rio Ferdinand, and one of the most underrated centre backs and one of the best centre backs I've ever worked with was Jonathan Woodgate.
Oh wow!
And only the English sport him, though.
Only the English sport him, but in terms of a clean defender, wow, he was something else.
Yeah.
Ledley King was a great player. I mean, there's a lot of centre backs out there that would vie for that spot in Premier League history.
Well, I'm going to ask you just that, because we've written a few down that we thought maybe you'd like to have, you know, give us maybe your top 3 of these. So some of the names that we came up with, Van Dijk, obviously, John Terry, as you mentioned, Rio Ferdinand, a player that I absolutely loved that played for Manchester United, the only Manchester United player that I really loved was Nemanja Vidic.
Vidic, absolutely.
What a player.
Yeah.
Tony Adams.
Yeah.
And obviously I added Vincent Kompany to the list as well.
Yeah.
So if you were picking, maybe I won't force you to do 1, 2, 3, but if you were picking your top 3 Premier League centre-backs of all time.
Oh, God. I'm not going down that one. I'll say him and I'll be driving home and think I should have said him. Like I mean, I should have had that question before I came today, so I could have.
So you could have done some thinking.
A bit more thinking about who I've watched, who have watched, and who we've played against. Like I mean, just.
Yeah, I've dropped it on you.
Yeah, dropped it on me.
Steve,
very interesting.
Are you declining too?
I could only say the best three I've probably worked with.
Okay.
So I would say John Terry for sure, Rio, and right now William Saliba could be something really super special.
Yeah.
Woodgate, who I've mentioned, Ledley King, who I've mentioned, Paul McGrath. They're the ones that really.
Actually, 6. Okay, I'll give you that.
It's so too difficult to say who's the best. Really is.
And of course, it's subjective, as football always is. So Liverpool again. Another Liverpool question to pick your brains for you.
I'd say before we said that, I say he's the best now.
Yes.
Far.
Yeah.
By far the best now.
Yeah.
And certainly the way he's playing this year will be a big miss to Liverpool if they lose him, which is, like Steve said before, it's going to count on whether Liverpool stay where they are or not, what injuries they do pick up over this Christmas period. I
want to make a call out though to all of the media and all of the pundits and all of the commentators. Every time I listen to watch Liverpool games, I'm sick to death already of them using the slot machine pun. It's always, oh my gosh, like in the game against City, the slot machine carry. Stop it! It's only been a few months and I'm sick of it.
What was that?
No more slot machine.
What was that one at Chelsea, the manager who came, the something ball? It was his name on it. He does.
Sorry ball
and all that dumb, boring rubbish they come talking.
Yes,
about, you know what I mean?
boring rubbish. I like that.
Rubbish,
you know what else boring rubbish, Sam? The trolling that I get on social media sometimes. It's part of the game that we're in. It's part of the world that we're in. But ever since Erling Haaland told Arsenal to stay humble, I constantly get trolled on my social media from people writing "stay humble" under things. Since he said "stay humble," though, things have obviously gone a little bit south for City and things are looking much more positive for Arsenal.
People are spending more time marking him, by the way.
Yeah, definitely.
They've looked at what he does and how he does it, and I'm surprised it's taken them this long, but they've sussed it.
Still the league top scorer. Let's put in that in there, even with City,
right.
though he hasn't scored in about 7 games.
But I mean, he's well, of course, because of the lack of confidence in City, his supply has dried up.
Yeah.
The supply is not there as like he likes it, because he's not one that comes off the line, beats 3 or 4 players and puts it in the top corner. He's the end product, and he's at the end of the build up that Man City make. He's not the one that he drops deep, but generally to create more space for him to go behind or get in the box and score. But that's his pure ability on how great he is at goal scoring, but the supply has dried up somewhat.
I might sell him from my FPL team. Controversial, or maybe not anymore. Given how well you know Mikel Arteta, is that the sort of thing that would have motivated him, like Erling Haaland saying, stay humble?
No,
he just got the stare, didn't he?
Yeah.
No.
Mikel just went like this. What are you talking about?
No, we'll have just gone over him.
No, it wouldn't affect him one bit. I mean, he's totally motivated by his team playing well and winning. He'll be motivated by getting the best out of Arsenal. That's it. Nothing else will come into that. No, it wouldn't affect him at all.
He won't get too intense, will he? Is he that intense or more relaxed during the week?
Yeah, he's more relaxed.
He's more relaxed, yeah. Because he seems hyper intensity, like we all are when we first get our first job in management. We're hyperactive, hyper tense, like
he would say it's energy.
Sometimes
it's energy, not intensity.
Sometimes way too much. Like I mean,
yeah.
Sometimes, but that's just because we want to be so successful. Like when we've got that opportunity.
Of course.
You calm down as you get older and as you get more experience. You tend to learn how to deal with it better and be a little bit more calmer. But at the moment, it's everything at Arsenal. After a little blip, has come back, for a really good form again. So it'd be nice to see where they go. Well, Liverpool yet to have a blip. Will they have a blip or won't they? Who knows?
So might have a big one, but
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If he wins the league, it's the greatest achievement for me. That I'm not so sure that any apart from Leicester winning the Premier League, be one of the greatest achievements, because if you're taking over from the iconic Jurgen Klopp, like you have to take over from the iconic god of Manchester United, Sir Alex Ferguson. It's however you look at it, it's whatever David and Stephen thinks they should or shouldn't have done, it's just nearly impossible. Especially with that squad.
Yeah, I think one of the things that gets missed a little bit about Liverpool is the recruitment team and what they did previously to him coming in. So they rebuilt the team the year before. So the Hendersons and people left, Fabinho's and Mane's.
Well, they cashed in on him in Saudi, didn't they?
Yeah.
Let's get the money in.
And,
you know what I mean?
And they rebuilt with McAllister, Szoboszlai's and people like this. And that team had actually been together. Well, this team's been together for a full season. There's been a couple of additions, but they learnt to play together. And when you've got that many players coming together, it's the next season where they could kick on. So they were always in a better position this year if the manager can deal with what he's been given. And we didn't know that with Arne Slot. We weren't sure. Yeah. And he's come in and proved that he can.
How important is it that, say, Arsenal and Manchester City do some business in January?
I think January is a really difficult window to do any business in, because players' prices are at top dollar. Teams don't want to lose their players from the Champions League teams that they're already playing in. They're all competitive. They're all competing for the leagues. It's very, very difficult. You could see City trying to get a 6 to replace Rodri, because obviously Kovacic is injured as well. And he's flitting in now. I think he's a really good player, Kovacic, but they still need that cover. So I could see them maybe, if they can do the business. Can Arsenal really sign anybody? And where would they strengthen right now? You know, the team and the sort of balance of the team, the spirit, the togetherness is all there. You can see it.
Talk about recruitment at Arsenal, because obviously you rebuilt it while you were there.
Yeah.
So because that's why Arsenal are where they are now. Not just that, but we can't be great managers without great players. It's just a fact. You know what I mean? So the confidence that, because you didn't have the best of time early on, did you?
Oh, the first
cup, actually. So that was
that gave us a bit of
FA Cup. That would give us a bit, but then you got this small periods of time where people say it's not working. I mean, my understanding about how good he was at moving a player on that didn't conform.
Okay.
And there were big names. But that's from the
Aubameyang
outside.
comes to mind.
Moving them on, and then obviously the recruitment side. How long did it take you to build that? Was that like?
I think there's a few things that go to it. Really, it's the manager's vision of how he wants the team to play. So the new buzzword is game model and methodology. So how are we going to play, and what players best suit the system and style that we want to play football in? And are those players of a certain age that are going to grow with the team? Because at the time we had a lot of very good young players, the likes of Saka coming through, and Emile Smith-Rowe and Willock and people like that, Eddie Nketiah, Reece Nelson. I mean, they've gone on loan or they've been sold, but they were coming through at the same time. So did they fit the right age profile? And then it's about the data that we're looking at from that team to throw up these recruits, and then the scouts to identify that these can play for Arsenal, and then it was the staff to ratify that by watching video after video after video after video to make sure that it was definitely fitting the sort of game model that you want.
So we weren't just going algorithms like a lot of teams.
No, we're a mixture of everything.
Very good.
Learning about the personality and character of that person, because we knew that if we're going to rebuild the culture, embrace what Arsenal was and evolve it to what it should be, they've got to have a certain behaviours and values that that respect our club and play the way we want to play. And then, to top it all off, I think you need a top recruiter. And a top recruiter is different to a top scout. So once you've identified that talent, to go and sign them, that recruiter's responsibility. And Arsenal had that in Edu. Edu was a brilliant recruiter. Yeah. Brilliant.
Not many of those about, by the way.
No. And a lot of respect for him in that role. He was so good. And that he could convince those players to come and join our club. And then, again, it's just as important you move on the players who aren't going to go on the journey with you, can't stay and last and play at that intensity and with that mentality in that winning environment that you really want, or in that style that you're accustomed to. Mm-hmm. So Aubameyang might have been a bit different because he was a goal scorer, really good goal scorer, and very good at running in behind. But did it really fit the style of play that we wanted to have at Arsenal? And I think that you have to make those tough decisions at times, because as a goal scorer, he could get in anybody's team, a bit like maybe Anelka.
Absolutely, yeah.
But we wanted a different type of player. Now they've gone for Kai Havertz, who's superb at dropping in. Another 6'3", 6'4" player, which helps them on all of the
big centre forwards are coming back.
So I think it's deciding how you want to. And Sam did the same. You know, he looked at his team at Bolton, and there were certain non-negotiables in his recruitment, what he wanted, and then you've got to try and up the quality each time, but have the same mentality and attitude. It's a very skilled operation, recruiting these days.
What we used to do is just keep sending people out, monitoring games and games and games and games and games. I bet he's had to go and watch more games with Moyes than he's ever done in his life. Yeah. You know what I mean? He wouldn't have a day off, like I mean, because he'd be going, well, you know.
Dave really valued that. He really valued you going and seeing the player live.
The player live, yeah.
The eye test.
Yeah.
So
you need to see whether, you know, do they still perform when they're 3-0 down? Do they still perform when they're 3-0 up? Do they play at home? Do they play away out? What's the mentality? What's their attitude like? How do they show respect to the coaches? You know, if you can get to see them train, even better. So that's all part of the package that goes together to try and sign the right player.
I always thought a scout sounded like one of the best jobs you could have in football, just going out and just watching as much football as you can.
It's a pretty lonely job, but there's the other side of this. I don't know how much this happens. A really good scout, a really good scout, keeps his ear to the ground, and comes back and goes. The amount of times that the scout would come back, and particularly the chief scout, would go, have you heard such and such a body's available? And you go, what? What? And you never thought he would be available at all. Ooh. But the whisper in the grapevine, because they had their own network, them boys.
Oh, I'd love to be a scout.
Honestly, they had their own network where they'd be out night after night, but they got their own. They bump into the same scouts all over the place and have a cup of tea and a sandwich, and then, you know, they'd chat away and going, have you heard such a body's done, fell out with such a body, he wants away, this was great information that you would get and that you didn't know before, and you could start investigating it, because if you've not got the top dollar, you have to be in before everybody else. Because if you're not, then it's like he's gone to a bigger club than you, and you've missed the boat.
I would like to be a scout. I'm going to add that to my list of jobs I would like. This week...
How many jobs do you want?
Oh, never enough, Sam. This week, so we're recording this podcast on a Monday this week, randomly for us. It's a bit different for us. And there is Premier League games Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday. So forgive us if you are listening to this after those games, Premier League games all week. But the big standout game of the week, and we've talked about both of them, Arsenal are taking on Manchester United. Is it a bad time for Arsenal to play Manchester United? Or is it never a bad time for Arsenal to play anyone?
I don't think Arsenal will be bothered about that one bit at the moment. I think they've recaptured their form. They've got nearly everybody fit, refreshed, and they look a really good side right now. So I don't think they would. It doesn't matter who they're going to play on Wednesday. You've got to play everybody. They'll be really confident, especially at home. However, you know, I like the coach at Man United. I like what I've seen. I was at the game the other night, the Bodo game, and I liked the way he set up his team. I liked the structure. And what was really interesting was in the first half, he got sort of he got his shape in this 3-4-3, and he got Garnacho playing in the pocket. And although he scored a goal and he looked a threat, it didn't look perfectly natural to him. Anyway, at half time, he changed it and he put him wide. So he'd recognised it, he'd seen it. And Garnacho then played really well. He's going to evolve this system, and I think it's going to take time.
I think Garnacho can play the in to out. which dominates a 3-4-3, doesn't it? They can't be there; they have to be here. So that you want there, and then they come there. They can't play there because it exposes them too much. I think.
Well, he changed it for the Everton game. Put Bruno in the pocket, which made sense. He moved him forward because he got Meno and Casemiro in as holding midfield players. It's more of a round peg in a round hole, that. But I think Garnacho could learn to do that. He's still young, but he's going to take time, and he's going to take the work on the training field day in, day out. But I like what I've seen from the coach up to now. I think he'll take Manchester United forward. It's just going to take time.
Okay, we always finish the podcast with questions that have come in from our listeners and our viewers on YouTube as well. Thank you, everybody, for always sending in your questions. So the first one is coming from a Villa fan. Luke has asked if Jack Grealish needs a move back to Villa as much as Villa need to sign Jack Grealish. Pondering.
Will Jack Grealish go back to Aston Villa?
I don't want him to leave City, but...
No, I don't see City selling him right now. I think Jack's an exceptional footballer. And I mean, I had a bit of time with him when I was working at Aston Villa. I loved him. I absolutely loved him.
As a character?
Yeah, he's a great kid. He really is. And I think he's an exceptional player. But look, would Villa sign him? Yes, of course they would. So would most other teams in the Premier League for sure. Would he go back there? I'm sure he would. He's a Villa boy or Villa fan.
I'm not so sure it's always right to go back to another football.
Whether he will or whether it'll happen.
Whether you're a player or a manager, like you mean. I think I went back to Bolton after I had such a great time there, and it was such a disappointment when I went back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just not. If you've had a good time there, will you emulate that good time and then that's your evaluation on whether you should go back. As much as your fans would love you back and all that, you've got to think, what can you achieve when you go back? And of course, Villa have been doing remarkably well, struggling now, probably because of Europe. Squad not big enough. So, but it's not even. Is it being muted that he might want to leave, or is it just?
I've not heard anything. I think I've not heard any proper serious rumours. Pep's come out. There's been some quotes recently about he's considering trying Jack in a number 8 role. From what you've seen of him, do you think he could fit that role?
Yes. A number 8, yes. 8, 11, because when he plays 11, he plays inverted anyway. He's always rolling inside. So yes, I could see that. I never really saw Jack as a 10, because I always think he's better facing the goal rather than with his back to goal and receiving in the pockets. But he could play that position, I've no doubt. Especially if it's an 8 off the left side.
Be interesting to see if we try that, because we need something in the middle. Okay, next question. Marshy has asked, have Leicester made... Oh, Marshy, crikey. Okay, Marshy have asked, have Leicester made a mistake hiring Van Nistelrooy when Moyes and Potter were both available?
What is a mistake? Only time will tell. Risk is big.
Yeah.
It's a for me. We don't know how good Ruud is just yet. He could be one of the best. But at this particular time, it's big risk because of his lack of experience and an understanding of how the Premier League works.
Steve?
But good luck to him.
Yep.
Yeah, it's what I don't know is what the process is that they've been through as a club. So what is the owner's vision for his team and how they want to play? What's the sporting director's vision of how the team want to play and how they want to be managed and coached? If they've gone down that route that Ruud fits that bill, then fair enough. As for Moyes, I mean, Moyes is a top manager and a top guy. Great integrity and respect, and don't forget he managed in Real Sociedad as well and had a successful period there. So that would have been the obvious choice if Leicester wanted to stay up, but I don't know whether they approached him or whether he wanted it. I don't know. But it'll be interesting. Ruud's no mug. He's had a good period of management in Holland with PSV and
lifted the spirits at United.
Yes.
When he took his 4 games, you know what I mean? So they responded, the players.
Yeah.
exceptionally well, didn't they? Like, I mean, but
you would hope
it's a whole new ball game going down there. While it's not the pressure of Man United, I get that, but it is the pressure of the R word being mentioned all the time, and the players with no confidence.
Yeah.
And Leicester's an attractive proposition. It's a really good club, amazing training ground, good support. They would have not been short of applicants. So obviously they've seen something in Ruud when they've done the interviews or talked to him that he's the right guy to take their club forward.
So a question is coming from one of our viewers, listeners called Alex, and Alex has just gone straight in with straight to the point. This is what he wants to know: which month will David Moyes return to Everton?
He's only got this month. I think if you haven't got January to work in, if you're going in with, if it's a struggling club, that is obviously, which most of the time, if you're going into management now, it's a struggling club. You need January to lift the squad. My interviews have always been, when we start working together, how are you going to be able to help me financially to improve the team in January? Moving players out will be a key issue, as well as selling some, as well as buying some. But I'm going to really need some budget. Don't know how much just yet, but certainly not. Some is that going to be available? If it's not going to be available, then it's going to be very difficult for me to take the job and get you out of the trouble you're in. You can wave the magic wand, but you can't make rabbit come out the hat.
Okay, like that. Do you think he'd go back to Everton if the job became available?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's a bit disrespectful to Dijk to talk about a position that is not available. I mean, Dijk last season did an unbelievable job to keep them in the league with the points deduction, and then again with no real revenue to work with to still be competitive. Yeah, things aren't going that well right now, but he's proven that he can do the job at this level. As for Dave, I don't know. It's an attractive thing. It depends on the new owners. Who knows? The new owners are going to have their own vision. They're going to want to do the things that they want to do. As for Everton itself, it's an amazing football club. It's got real soul and a heartbeat to it. I loved my time there. I really did. And
it's got a new stadium.
And a new stadium.
Magnificent.
Yeah.
Like, you mean that
next season?
That's if they stay up, which I think they will. I think they've just got enough. Like, I mean, because it would be devastating for them to go down to that new stadium, having got relegated for the first time ever. Was that right?
Yeah.
It's the Liverpool Derby this weekend. How nervous do you think Everton are?
My experience of derbies, I was always nervous. It's
derbies.
It's a brilliant game, but
when you wake up in that morning.
Yeah. It
depends. Same for fans,
Depends whether you're the favorite. It depends whether you're the. Well, you're always nervous, but if you've got the confidence in your team to do the job, and I was at Everton and we're playing, I think it's the second game, I think it was, playing Liverpool away. And when Rooney scored a penalty for a 1-1, what a relief that was. And then, of course, we managed a 1-1 draw at home as well. So, in what was a struggling season, so I didn't experience that. And I experienced the derby, which is a fantastic derby, and actually gave Everton something to cheer about in both the games, like you mean. So it was a bit of an achievement.
The form goes out the window in a derby.
Doesn't it?
Yeah. Anything could. I remember one of the derbies, I think Brendan Rodgers had just taken over. And they were playing at Goodison. And they went 2-0 up in 20 minutes and we was 2-2 at half time. And we came in afterwards and had a drink. And his tie was over here and his hair was everywhere. And he just walked in our office and he went, "What was that?" I went, "That's the Merseyside Derby, Brendan. It is an unbelievable game. And anything could happen, the atmosphere and everything else, it's just incredible. It's just great. It's a great occasion. Everton won't be, they'll go into that and they'll have a go. That's for sure.
Good.
They'll have
a go.
Well, Sean's always been good at, look, Everton have had a lack of goals since I went, even before I went. So they lost Lukaku, and the goals had gone, and they've never replaced him. Right? They've tried and tried and tried, but they've never replaced. Looked like Calvert-Lewin was going to be the answer for a while, till all the injuries happened. So they looked like they'd bought one young, and he developed and started scoring lots and lots of goals under, well, particularly Ancelotti for that season, particular season. Then all these injuries occurred, and now it looks like he can't hit the back of the net regularly again. So without the team scoring enough goals, it's always going to be a struggle. So you have to set your team up, why then people start not liking the style of play you play, because you're not going to want to be beaten like they got beaten this week, which is very, very unusual. Even this season, they've not been hammered by anybody. You know what I mean? And drawn a lot of games, and only drawn those games because of the lack of ability on finishing the chances that created. So it's a constant battle he's facing on his style of football, because he hasn't got the tools to play a different style of football, to be more creative, more entertaining. They are creating, but they're just not finishing.
It's going to be an interesting game. Very, hopefully. Yeah. Hopefully it'll be a very interesting game. Okay, the last question for you. Finally, which manager did you enjoy working with?
Oh, you can't ask him that.
I did it, Sam.
You can't say that. You can say it's not me if you like. I won't be offended.
He will.
Present company. Yeah.
It wasn't long enough, I don't suppose, either.
Yeah, there is
only
that.
A couple of months, few months, that was it.
I can't answer that, because I've enjoyed working with every manager I've worked with. I really have. And every manager I've worked with have had completely different personalities and strengths. And, you know, Mikel's a world-class coach. I mean, his ability to get his message across tactically and the way to teach that team to play in a cohesive unit is unbelievable. And then you work back through all the people I've worked with. Moyes, great integrity, work ethic, hunger. His tactical knowledge and defensive principles are brilliant, you know. And Steve McClaren was a great coach, really good. Yeah, and Middlesbrough. So I worked with him, and he was more of a coach manager than a manager coach. And then you got Sam, who's more of a manager than a coach, who's more leadership and strength of character and a vision of how he wanted the club to be run from top to bottom. So, you know, I remember spending as much time as I could with Terry Venables at England, because his visionary outlook on attacking and creative play was I'd never seen anything like it. So we'd be on the salt and pepper pots all afternoon from dinner till from lunch till dinner we'd be on it. And
I've experienced the salt and pepper pots.
Yeah,
World Cup in Germany. I went with him with ITV, and he was
just going around the tables grabbing them all.
Long coach journeys.
Yeah,
he was just like these, you know.
He'd say, like, if your winger. If I move the winger here, what are you going to do?
And then you'd get the pepper pot.
Yeah, and then you move that, and then you get the sugar out, and then you go, yeah, but what if I push the back four higher? And then he'd set you another problem, and he was testing himself all the time, you know, but his creative intelligence was unbelievable. So, yeah, I mean, I might have missed a few out there that I've worked with, but look, they've all been great to work with, and I've loved every minute of it, to be honest.
Some list.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, best of luck with whatever comes next for you. It's been a real pleasure to have you on. Enjoyed it, Sam?
Dave, absolute pleasure, as always, mate. Great to see you.
Yeah, and you as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for the champagne, Sam.
Pleasure.
I look forward to cracking that open on Christmas Day, probably. Thank you.
Well, yes, save it, get it in the fridge, get it nice and chilled, and then enjoy it when you can.
Yes, or I'll re-gift it at Christmas time, who knows. Joking, Sam, I'm joking. I would never do that. Thank you very much for joining us on No Tippy Tappy Football.